Good afternoon, Jessica Grace Smith. Welcome on VH Berries to you, but also to the fly that was in your room a few seconds ago.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. And the fly is dead now.
I am the most grateful person in the room and even in the entire ice hockey arena.
Oh, ice hockey. Is that what that video was about? So I actually played field hockey.
So if I understood correctly, it has nothing to do with ice hockey.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. Like I played my whole life. And if you Google like Jessica Grace Smith hockey, you'll find all these images because when I was working on a TV series in Australia, the paparazzi came to some of my games. But yeah, it's field hockey, so it's like not on ice, but it's a similar kind of game, I guess, although we have like 11 players on each team and it's nowhere near as brutal.
I hope, Jessica Grace Smith, that this is similar, because for today I learned the entire glossary of terms of ice hockey, but I would love to discuss about this sport because you have a special connection to it. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, I played hockey my entire life. My dad was my coach. I played like rep hockey for New Zealand, like not for New Zealand, for like Manawatu in New Zealand and in Wellington. I played in Sydney as well. And it's just a sport that I've loved my entire life. I think it really, I don't know, I'm very competitive and it's such a great sport. And I was a striker, so it's kind of like you inflict the pain, you don't get injured really because you're the one scoring the goals and it's a lot of glory. And I've loved all the teams I've been a part of. Yeah, so that's hockey for me. It was, yeah, it was a big part of my growing up.
Hockey was definitely for you, Jessica Grace Smith, and before each game, every team has to prepare a lot to be able to win, and it can be made on, for example, a paper board, drawing the strategy on the paper, but this same paper board can also be used to draw the storyboard of a short film.
Yeah, I see that. I see that connection. It's very true. No, you're right, actually, because all of I feel like, even just kind of the performance anxiety that you get before a game, it's very similar to before an audition. And I think that all of the mental stuff that I learnt playing hockey through the reps really helped me when it came to kind of having my A game on for auditions. And then, like you say, storyboarding, the planning and prep that you need for a game and the practice is the same for a short film. You do. Yeah, I hear that. I like the connection.
Absolutely. And Jessica Grace Smith, as you just mentioned, everything that you learn during those years as an avid hockey player helps you later on as an actor and filmmaker. For example, when it comes to freezing the puck, clearing the puck, but also head manning the puck, which means, if I understood correctly, to pass to a teammate moving up the ice or the ground ahead of the player. And in this case, you were head manning the puck to Gala Baumfield.
Oh, to Gala, yeah, for my first short film, yes. Very good. I don't even know some of these terms for ice hockey, so I will be learning along with you, which is great. Yes, Gala was the lead of my first short film. She was incredible, such an incredible find. And that was quite a personal story. It's sort of the story of a young kind of tomboy girl who wants to play with the boys at primary school. It's a little coming of age film. And yeah, when I found Gala, I was like, she's our girl. She was like this cool skateboarder chick. She was really athletic. She actually had a broken arm for most of the shoot. She broke it. And so we had to like work around that, but she was awesome. So yeah, I hear you.
Jessica Grace Smith, I would love to discuss about this short film in which Gala Bonefield played the main part. This piece of art is called Everybody Else is Taken.
Yeah, so I wrote this film when I finished shooting Home and Away. I was kind of feeling a little bit like I just wanted to express myself creatively in a different way. And the title actually comes from an Oscar Wilde saying, be yourself, everybody else is taken, which I always thought was quite cool. So that's why I made it the title. And I crowdfunded it, I think I crowdfunded, I was really lucky. I got about 15 grand. I had a fantastic producer, Belinda Lee Hope, who's just doing amazing things now. She produced it and she got me so many deals and favors through Park Road Post. Actually were really supportive when it came time to finishing it because we basically spent all the money on the shoot. And yeah, it was my first short and it did really well. It went to like heaps of festivals worldwide. It got into about 3 or 4 Academy Award accredited festivals. It won the Youth Jury Award at one of those festivals, Palm Springs. So it really just kicked off this kind of world for me that I hadn't anticipated. I just wanted to make something. I wasn't expecting it to be or to do really well. So that really I don't know, I loved that. And I got to go to those festivals. I went to New York with it. I went to Palm Springs. I went to Berlin. So I was like, this is awesome. I should just make films. This is a great way to do life.
This is a great way to do life. Jessica Grace Smith and Everybody Else is Taken, as you just mentioned, actually won the Youth Jury Awards at the Palm Spring International Short Fest because the audience and the jury definitely liked one element of the short film. I am talking about Mika's socks, because on the right side we have a skull pattern, and on the left one we have a pineapple pattern.
Yes, mismatched socks. Honestly, I think that might have just been what Gala turned up in, and we were like, let's roll with it. Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, her costuming, I mean, everything was, we had an incredible costumier, Manon. She picked up, so much of the slack in other departments where we needed it. She was amazing.
I can really feel in your voice, Jessica Grace Smith, that this is a daily commitment as a creative person. And when I watched this short film, I could also feel a very strong relationship to humanity, especially with the nature that you are putting in the spotlight.
Yeah, I think, do you mean the nature like in the New Zealand environment or the nature of the film?
A celebration of the landscape in New Zealand and the entire environment. Yeah,
I think so. Like I really chose different shots to accentuate that sort of small town feel, because it sort of was like an autobiographical kind of film, and I grew up in a really small town. But I shot it in Wellington, which is a city here, but I found a little suburb that was, that kind of had the feel of the town that I grew up in. And the primary school, actually, my mum was the principal of the school where we shot the film as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. Jessica Grace Smith went to bother the people near the Bottomley Park, because we can see the sign directing to that location.
Yeah.
In a very short moment of the short film.
Yeah. We got all those locations. It was great. But yeah, it's interesting that you speak to the humanity of that film, because it's true. Like I said, it was an autobiographical piece. And I think, there were a few people that really understood what I was trying to do when I sent them the script. And then there were a few people that were like, I don't get it. It's not that big of a deal. But I think if you've ever been through any kind of bullying, or, which most people have, or if you're coming of age as a young girl, like, I don't know, I feel like it does speak to different people differently.
The short film and the storyline definitely spoke to many people, and I would love to know more about the genesis of the project, because you mentioned that it started with a crowdfunding, and in the video of the page we can see you explaining your childhood and even putting some young pictures of yourself with a short haircut. But I feel that this is a story that you had since a very long time, probably the time you were an avid hockey player.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it was, when I was trying to figure out, I knew I wanted to make a film, and I was trying to think up some ideas, you sort of jam some writing ideas. And that was just one of the first ones that came to me. And I remember testing it out with some friends, being like, hey, I want to tell a story about this. And most people were really supportive. And so but yeah, that was my story. I mean, I was kind of bullied by the girls at primary school for a good couple of years, and I wanted to play with the boys, but then, they wouldn't let me either. And so I was just kind of walking around by myself for a while. But then I think, I did just sort of, just kind of push my way in, really. And I think that sports and team sports have a real way of giving us community when sometimes we maybe feel a bit alone. I think that's why it's really important for kids to be part of a team, because I think then you go to school and at least you've got your teammates, or even if you all go to different schools, you sort of have people on the weekends that you're going to meet up with. You're in the same team. You're on the same team.
This is very important to have a team in conclusion, and part of the team behind everybody else is taken is a musician that also worked in numerous of your other projects. Yes. I am talking about Steve Toulmin,
yes,
who did all the soundtracks, and who is taking those pieces of art to another dimension.
Yes, I am so glad you brought up Steve. He is one of the most talented composers I think we have, like, in this part of the world. He's actually in Sydney. He did my other short. He also did a lot of the music for a TV, like a web series I directed called Bondi Slayer. He's fantastic. And he does a lot of theatre. He just does everything. We have a really good creative relationship, I think, where we're just both trying to make the project better. And it can be a little heated at times, but I think we're both just arguing our point, and in the end the final product's amazing. And so I just think, like, I would work with Steve on anything.
Absolutely, Jessica Grace Smith. This is the best composer of all time.
I'm going to send him this episode.
And you had a very great work relationship with Steel Toolmin as well as the other member. You did the complete opposite of what I can call flipping the puck, because Flip is also the name of a very recent creation of yours. Can you tell us a little bit more about Flip?
Yeah, so Flip was my second short film, and I wanted to do something sci-fi, something kind of otherworldly. And I was sort of thinking about, I guess I was just kind of growing into my like feminist ways and thinking about the oppression of women in the world. And so I set this in a world where these two women have been captured and taken away from their, tribe, I guess, and been held captive for many, many years now. Probably the mother was probably in there alone. And then so the idea was that her daughter is actually half her blood and half the blood of the kind of monster man. And so this film is like, it's really dark, and it speaks to, it's again another coming of age film, but it speaks to kind of maybe that next level up where the young girl gets her period for the first time, and the mother sees that it's blue blood like hers, and so she knows that the man who's been kind of keeping her captive is going to start coming for her daughter now. And I think that that's where the sort of the stakes of the film come into play, where her mother's like, we have to get out of here. I would rather die than kind of see my daughter be abused in the way that I have been. So then that's kind of where it goes. But it's got a happy ending. They end up killing him and getting away. And maybe I'll send you some links to the films so that you can add them in the notes if anyone wants to watch them, because they're all done with their festival runs now. But yeah, I'm really proud of that film. It was like, we had a really low budget. We had 30 grand to make that. And I think there are definitely elements of it that make me cringe that I wish were different, but we just didn't have the budget to kind of have a big truck or have everything exactly the way I wanted it. And I think we achieved a pretty great outcome for the money that we had. And that's also done quite well, especially given that it came out during COVID, which meant that a lot of festivals had closed for those couple of years. And I don't know if people know about the festival run, but when you make a short film, you have 2 years to get it into festivals, and then it's done. Most festivals only accept films that were made last year, some the year before. So it kind of came out at a difficult time. I think we started our run in 2020. But no, it went on to win like Best Sci-Fi at a couple of big festivals in the US, and it screened at Leeds, which is a BAFTA and Academy Award credited festival as well. So I was pretty happy with how it went.
You were pretty happy about how it went, Jessica Grace Smith. And this story, Flip, is completely different, of course, than everybody else is taken. Not only concerning the story, but also about the cast and the way you worked through it, because you were both the writer, director, but also a character.
Yes, I was a triple threat. Yeah, I acted in this one, and that was very difficult, and probably given my time again, I might not have done that. Although, I'm happy with the performance. There are certain things directorially that I might have picked up on, and I might have had a bit more focus on if I wasn't also acting in it. But I had an incredible cinematographer, Jess Charlton, who also shot my other film. who really held space for both things. But I think, it was a tough one and not something that I would jump into again to direct and act unless I had like a very small part and I was just directing most of it and I just had a small part. But like this, I was in everything. So yeah, it was a lot, but it was incredible. It was very creatively stimulating.
If I understood correctly, Jessica Gray Smith, if you had to redo this short film called Flip, we would probably see you as the character at the entrance of the camp, checking the cars that are going out and in, because you mentioned that you would prefer to have a smaller part.
Yeah, that's a great role.
The role were distributed with Mia Van Owen, Shane Rangi, but also Benedict Wall, because I mentioned at the very beginning, I am not talking about the fly in the room, but the paperboard in the writer room. Benedict Wall was probably in there because this is a teamwork.
Yes. So yes, I cast Ben in that role. In fact, I mean, he really just helped me out by doing that role because he was on set as my performance coach so that he could kind of keep on track of performance during that film while I was directing the shots, and he could kind of manage. So I didn't have to sort of watch myself too much. But yeah, now Ben and I have a company, and we have a TV series in development, and we have about 3 other projects that we're working on. And we're definitely kind of turning our hand more to behind the scenes side of things, which has been really, really fun. Great for our relationship in lots of ways. Challenging in lots of ways, but I think we work really well together. And like we've got a shorthand with each other, and so it's quite easy to just get on board with each other's vision for whatever project. If it's more his or more mine, we just kind of share the workload.
Sharing the workload, Jessica Gray Smith, and I truly hope that there will be a more short film, because you just gave out all the plots and storyline of your 2 short films, so you won't be able to put them during the 15-minute intermission of every hockey games. This is very sad.
Yes, so sad. But yeah, we'll link notes to them so that other people can see them. But yeah, actually we have a feature film now. So I think maybe no more short films. Maybe we'll just move on to TV and feature films.
Absolutely, Jessica Gray Smith. This feature film won't be projected during the 15-minute intermission between each set of the hockey game, but will have its own stadium dedicated for this project.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would love Jessica Gray Smith to explore New Zealand, because we mentioned your connection with environment and nature, but we can feel this influence coming from New Zealand, but also from Argentina. Can you tell us a little bit more about those early days and those beginnings, both in Oceania and in South America?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no. So I feel very connected to New Zealand, Aotearoa, which is the Māori word for New Zealand. And like you say, the landscape, the kind of small town community that keeps us all connected. I think we make really interesting work here. And I think having a distance from somewhere like Hollywood, I think it enables us, or for me, it enables me to kind of like go into myself and figure out what is my taste, what do I really think, and just there's space for that. And we are supported here by the government in different kind of ways to make work and to develop our skills and to be mentored and things like that here. So I feel really lucky to have been born here and to be raising my son here. But yeah, when I was 17, I moved to Argentina for a year. And that was a totally different experience. Like I lived in a city, which I think in Argentina is considered kind of a small city, but to me it was huge. It's called San Juan. It's on the border between Chile and Argentina and just above Mendoza, which is like a beautiful wine country. And I did my final year of high school there, and I made the best friends, and I didn't speak any Spanish before I went there, and now I speak fluent Spanish. My little brother's actually just married a Chilean, so that's really great. We can speak. And yeah, that really influenced my life. It totally opened my mind. If anyone's thinking about letting their child do an exchange at that age of 17, I think must be scary. It must have been scary for my parents, but I just think it's so worth it because you get to know yourself in a really interesting way at a really interesting point in your life where you're like almost an adult. And I think the confidence that came from that for me for the rest of my life, I don't know, I've just continued to have this inner self-confidence of like, I'm okay when I'm alone, like I'm okay when I'm on my own, and I'm really capable. And I feel like that experience kind of, even though it was scary at the time, I think going through it and coming out the other side, I just grew a lot as a 17-year-old. So yeah, I loved that. It was life-changing.
Absolutely, Jessica Grace Smith. It definitely opened some doors and pushed the ice hockey puck forward, and as well as helping finding your voice through two very special elements, some teachers and also some books. Can you tell us a little bit more about those two influences?
Yeah, I've had some really fantastic teachers through, like, in my acting world. When I went to drama school, just make sure my computer's not going to sleep. Yeah, I've had some fantastic teachers through my time as an actor. When I went to Toi Whakaari, I was auditioned by Miranda Harcourt, who's a really well-known acting coach. And so that was amazing. And she's continued to be a mentor for me throughout my acting career. She's a coach that I use at times. And also she's just like a cool woman that, like, me and my husband are like, Stuart and Miranda are a couple goals. So she's amazing. Another teacher that I had when I was in Sydney, when I felt like I was just not really booking anything as an actor and kind of getting a bit bored of myself, was Les Chantery. And a lot of people will know who that is as well. He just really helps you to sort of break open the most interesting parts of yourself and use them for your auditions. And since I worked with him, I booked a couple of really big jobs. So he was a great teacher. Another teacher that I had who's always kind of been like a bit of a mentor is Nathaniel Lees. He was my tutor at drama school. He played Gala's dad. He played Mika's dad in Everybody Else Is Taken, or granddad, sorry. And I feel like if I had the opportunity, I would put Nathaniel in everything. He is just the most beautiful actor. And I never want to give him any direction because I'm like a little bit scared of him, but also like in awe because he never needs anything. So he's incredible. And then, in terms of books, like I remember reading Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo in 2020, just when we went into lockdown. I think me and a couple of girlfriends turned it into a book club book. And it is just the most beautifully written, like it's very different grammatically, and it intertwines the lives of these 8 women, and in the beginning, I think there's 8, you just kind of go on this journey, and then you sort of start to see how they're all interconnected. And I just think it's such a beautiful book and had a great impact on me as well.
I am looking forward to see those upcoming projects, both in the neutral and attacking zone of the creative field. Thank you, Jessica Grace Smith.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you interviewing me and taking the time and watching my films. You did so much prep for this. I'm really grateful.